Welcome to Physician Heal Thyself, the podcast, empowering you to take a whole person approach to your well-being, spirit, soul, and body. Join me, your host, Dr. Ana Lara, naturopathic doctor, entrepreneur, and a servant of Jesus Christ. We are not just a body, we are spirit and soul. It's time to integrate medicine and spirituality into our healing. Let's get started. Welcome back to Physician Heal Thyself, the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ana Lara. And today I want to have a very interesting conversation with you guys. I have a special guest, and I'll briefly introduce him here shortly. But I oftentimes get, my patients to ask me questions about supplements. And so I have the best person that can speak to this topic. His name is Daniel Boenning. He has a bachelor's degree and has been with Biotics Research, a representative for 27 years, learning and sharing from other doctors he has met over the years. Daniel graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a degree in Biochemistry of Nutrition. So he knows what he's talking about. He spent several years in a highly integrative practice in Wisconsin before moving to Arizona. He also maintains his certified clinical nutritionist credentials to keep in touch with the ever-changing nutritional world. And let me tell you to my audience, whether you're watching or you're listening, I speak to a lot of sales representatives from many companies, but I can tell a good one from one that's not so good. And every product that I carry in my office, just like many natural doctors and functional doctors, we vet out these products because we want to carry the greatest therapeutic quality for our patients. And when you hear Daniel speaking today, you're going to hear his knowledge and experience. And I would say that he is probably more knowledgeable than many doctors and even some naturopathic and functional medical doctors. And this is why I'm having Daniel here today. So let me introduce Daniel. Daniel, welcome.
Wow, thank you. I need to use that when I'm having a bad day, that introduction.
I'll record it for you.
Yeah,
How
please
about that?
do. Yeah, that
You'll
felt
have
good.
this video.
That felt good. Yeah, thanks
welcome.
for having me.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate the introduction. That's
Yeah,
I've been at this a while.
Yeah. I first met you when I was actually in medical school.
Yeah.
And I haven't really been in contact with you since then, but you left such an impression on me then, just the way you would talk about the products. So today's episode, and we're going to do a two-part episode for our audience to know. So you'll want to make sure you tune into both because we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. But this conversation is going to be about why quality matters, and the truth about therapeutic supplements and getting good results.
Yeah.
So let's get started. In this first part, I want to talk about, what makes a supplement therapeutic.
Yeah.
So what is your understanding of a therapeutic quality?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the literature, and I'll give credit to many of my mentors throughout this topic because I've never had an original idea myself. But when you look at the literature on a global scale, one of my dear mentors has, you look at nutrient deficiencies, and you look at what's going to make a shift. And so an example might be in a product like 1 milligram of zinc. We learned all about zinc during a certain season of what was going on in the world. And 1 milligram is not going to do much. But 20 milligrams will make an impact on health. We could talk about vitamin D. Everybody knows about vitamin D. Biotics Research, actually, when we started out, we kind of disagreed with the 400 IU standard that was out there. And we started doing research and showing studies that 400 can work for some people, but truly therapeutically, and people may agree or disagree a little bit, but you got to be at least above 2,000 IUs. And some cardiologists in the integrative world go much higher than that. I'm guessing in your patients, sometimes you don't see their vitamin D level come up fast enough. We're not at a therapeutic dose.
We're not and that's where most conventional doctors don't have the training. They don't have the understanding of how to dose at therapeutic doses.
Right.
So they're dosing something way too low, and most people don't have that knowledge either. Yeah, they might look online, but even the content online I find is very conservative. So I'm gonna tell you, and by the way, for our audience to know, this is for educational purposes only. We are not telling you to go and dose this to yourself, because I do lab values. I'm gonna check labs. I'm gonna do a full assessment of medical issues, medications, what's safe for them to take. So you cannot take this information that we're sharing here today and go and apply it to yourself without working without a doctor, with a doctor that's well experienced in this. But when someone comes in that's super vitamin deficient, not just like 40 or 50, like they're in I've seen as low as 3.
Yeah.
Vitamin D levels of 3, it's like, you're not going to feel good, you're not going to have energy, you're going to get sick more frequent. But when someone comes at a 20 or so levels of vitamin D, I'm dosing high.
Yeah.
I am dosing. I don't know if you'll freak out about this, but I've also done my own testing where I test people before and after in a 30-day period, and I give them the lab orders. Like, I want to see where you're at. It's low. We're going to dose you at 20,000 IUs a day for 30 days.
Yep.
Then I want you to go get the labs done, and then we'll decide where we're going to dose you from there on. In that 30-day mark, I've done initially I did like about 10 people. That's not a huge.
It's a good enough study, though.
It's a good enough study.
Gives you a little.
Consistently, all of them were in the between 70 and 80 range.
Yeah.
So at that point, okay, we could do 2,000 a month. 2,000 IUs a day.
Yeah.
And then keep observing from that. But with vitamin D levels, and that's just one of many examples. I find clinically that some people just have really bad digestive systems. If they have kidney issues, diabetes, obesity,
they're going
to be they're going to be reversing vitamin D, active vitamin D to inactive. And so there's many studies and research on why even people who consume high fructose corn syrup will reverse active vitamin D. So you can supplement it, but if you don't make those dietary changes, lifestyle changes, doesn't make the impact.
No, I appreciate you saying this, because in the vitamin world, we can do a lot, but if you're not willing to make some of the lifestyle changes, you're asking for I hate to say it, but like a miracle here. I mean, we've got to step up and do some lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
But there's, again, like you said, there's so many variables just to vitamin D, and I don't want to get stuck on just vitamin D. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But as you said, diabetes, the literature is there. When I got in this 35 years ago into this industry, we didn't have the literature. We were quacks. I was in a clinic in Wisconsin for several years. And seeing this evolve, like you're seeing it evolve, the tough part working with the internet and all those factors, and I know we're going to get into that a little bit, is, we're a culture of 1 is great and 6 is better, but that's not always the case, even with vitamin D. Mm-hmm. I've seen people get it way too high because they just, I'm just going to take a bunch. There is a therapeutic range, and the literature is pretty good with that too.
Yeah, I definitely have seen people dosing themselves too high, even if it's 5,000, 10,000. But they're doing it consistently for a long time, then they're like 200 level of vitamin D. It's dangerous. So there's a medium there. Why don't people see results? Say someone who's doing vitamins, they're supplementing themselves.
Yeah.
Why don't they see results? They come to me and they're like, well, I've done the zinc, I've done this, I've done the ashwagandha, but I'm not seeing any results. It didn't work on me.
That's a loaded question.
Take your time.
But I was ready for it. No, you know what? There's a lot of, again, variables to this, but my passion is education in this industry. I've been at this a long time, and it's a booming industry, and it's a growing industry, and I'm very happy about that for your patient population. Yet, I know the work that we do at our corporate headquarters in Texas. We're a 50-year-old family-owned company. And we look at every ingredient that comes in the door. So why do some things not work? Example, ashwagandha right now. We're finding contaminated material. So we're rejecting that material. The question is for the consumer, who's buying that material? And I'm not here to be a doomsdayer, or I'm not here to call anybody out. There's a lot of companies that do their due diligence. You use those companies. So we're not the be-all, end-all. I'm just here for education. But we see a lot of issues. I can tell you in the herbal arena, I have slides on this that we put St. John's wort through our HPLC, which is a technology to look at where is the active ingredient. It spikes at a certain point, and you need that active component. Well, in certain material, we're not finding that active component, and the product's actually been adulterated with like quercetin, which gives us a spike in a different location in that laboratory report. So why does the patient sometimes not do better? Is because it's mediocre product. It is a buyer beware industry. But like you said, what does their digestion look like? What does their lifestyle look like? You can only do so much with supplements and nutrition if they're not going to at least come somewhat on board on the bandwagon of some lifestyle changes.
Yeah. So you're touching on, I like how Biotics, vets out the product. You're talking about quality.
Yeah.
So let's focus in on that because the quality of the product does matter. And it's not, I know people buy things at Costco, over-the-counter stuff. It's not going to be the same as a product from Biotics. So when Biotics receives a batch of, say, St. John's wort, you're evaluating the quality of that and you're rejecting whatever's not quality?
Yeah.
What do you guys do with the product that you reject?
Great question. So yes, at Biotics Research, we have an ISO certified laboratory. That's a global certification to look at products and certify products. And when we were getting that certification, actually, the ISO board goes, why are you guys doing this? Who are you going to certify? We're going to certify ourselves to show quality control. But every ingredient that comes in our door goes to the laboratory, and we look at all the excipients, the flavonoid content. Is it peaking in the right spot that the client, are going to get a result? The question is, you're right, who gets that material that we reject? I don't know.
Oh.
That goes back to the supplier. An example and things to think about as even as the doctors might be listening in or your clients, your patients, ask questions. When you're buying bigger ticket items, you're asking questions. When you're buying a TV, you're looking for this and that and the other thing. Ask about the process. Do you know about the process? Because not that we're the be-all, end-all, but we are vetting ingredients every single time. We might buy from a supplier for 45 years. The certificate of analysis that comes with that batch, we look at it, but we never trust it. And it goes into our laboratory to look for all those factors. Mold, bacteria, for those of you that we're very familiar with mold issues. We look at all of those things.
And I think this is where it's very important for our audience to understand that sometimes I get it that people want to save a buck here and there.
Sure.
But you might be actually spending more money in the long run by buying a cheaper brand that it's cheaper in price, but it's also cheaper in quality, and you're not getting the results where a product, and maybe you could speak to a particular product that is like super effective.
Yep.
Yes, maybe you're paying $150 for that bottle. Maybe it's, you're using over a 2-month period. But the results that you see and more importantly, what you feel in your body, the changes, and then when we see on labs that are changes, right, compared to that $20 bottle of fish oil you bought at some store that you think is helping you, but it's doing absolutely nothing. It might even be harming you. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, let's go to fish oil, just like you mentioned. Let's start there.
It's a good one, actually.
Yeah, it is a great one. We look at toe-tox levels, and what is a toe-tox level? It's what you look at to see if the fish oil is oxidized or it's bad. Mm-hmm. The USP, the United States, the allowable limit in the industry is, in a general, about 10 parts per. It's a 10 toe-tox to keep it really simple. We buy ours at 2, and then it gets gel capped. There's a lot of processes involved in here, which the consumer really. It's good to understand this a little bit of the process of fish oil, because every Costco, everybody is selling fish oil, anti-inflammatory, great for your cellular health. The list is long, but you look at oxidation levels. An example is, I can assure you, even to expiration date, which we put on all of our bottles because we do incubation times versus a manufacture date, which doesn't tell you when it expires, I can assure you our toe-tox level is very, very low. Our oxidation level is very, very low. That's a big difference in the industry. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not calling out anybody. And I don't need Costco calling you or and I'm not picking on anybody like that. But it is something to be aware of in the industry because of our ISO certification, we look at these and we see stuff. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It is a buyer beware industry.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned something about expiration dates.
Yeah.
It's a question I get. Patients ask me this a lot.
Sure.
Once again, it's people who are trying to save money.
Yeah.
This is a little expired. Can I still use the product?
Yeah. I mean, expiration date doesn't mean it goes from 100% to 0.
Yeah.
It just says we guarantee 100% potency
Right.
to the expiration date. We do incubation times. We look at how long, let's say, vitamin C will last, because vitamin C can break down. Often in certain components, and I know other companies do this too, will add extra in the beginning, especially like flavonoids and vitamins, fatty soluble vitamins, that by expiration date, they're still at 100%. So in the beginning, you're getting a more potent product a little bit, not excessively. But please, let's not panic about an expiration date and go, oh, well, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Minerals are very stable. Many of the B vitamins are very stable. They're not just gone like that.
Yeah.
But we do that to show you that you're getting a quality product and that we look at the effectiveness of the product. Because again, if you do a manufacture date, which is allowable to do in this industry, and I'm not saying that's bad, but if you're buying a fish oil that has no expiration date, I don't know how good it is. Mm-hmm. You don't know how good it is.
No.
The consumer doesn't either.
I say if it stinks, throw it away.
And to me, if it's that bad, that's really bad.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens before an expiration date. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you look at one, the oxidation levels was already up before it was even put into a gel capsule.
Yeah.
But, in our climate here in Arizona, if it's sitting in your car at all.
Yeah. We touched a little bit about, and we don't have to name any particular companies, just coming to my mind, because with there's so many people jumping on the bandwagon of natural medicine.
Yes.
And now you have a lot of people starting these companies, multi-level companies. I get patients ask me this a lot, who bring a product to me, or they send me a picture of a product they got through either a multi-level company or some new company that's doing something that's really not within the functional medicine. Like doctors are not using these products.
Sure.
Because we're not wasting our time vetting those out.
Right.
We're looking at companies that are reputable, like Biotics Research, other companies that we know the quality. They've done the research. It feels safer to me to trust these companies versus these new ones coming in, especially multi-level. What's your take? Because this is your industry.
It is.
We all have our opinions, and I know there's some things that might be good, but compared to what?
Yeah, that's a great question. Even when I came out of college, a long time ago, I had a really good hairdo then. We even had that encounter in our clinic back then. And not to, again, badmouth them, they're trying their best with what they have. Again, we're a 50-year-old company. We developed a lot of the testing and procedures in this industry. And I know the other companies are appreciative of that. But when it comes to companies like multi-level, you look at carriers to the nutrient, like we could talk about like calcium citrate versus calcium carbonate. The carrier would be the carbonate or the citrate, to simplify it. And in some of those situations with those other companies, they're using mediocre carriers. Now, with that said, I also agree with that taking something is better than nothing. We are a depleted culture. We eat junk food. We have high stress. We have high pollution. The list is long of how it affects the body. And so taking something is better than nothing. I can think of right now, there's a greens powder that's very big in social media. It's very big at some of the big box stores. And to me, it's a little bit of window dressing because it's giving a little bit of everything, which is okay. Again, we talked about therapeutic, but you're going to get some response to it, but not as a doctor like you and your other associates, and you're not going to get the response you're going to need to get a patient from their lab work shifted. So I know I kind of went off on a tangent here a little bit, but that market, the MLM market, it's kind of like just safely taking the multi, but you're not really working with anything to shift the body. You're going to feel a little bit better maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't like what I see in some of those products with the sucralose and the fillers. That's not nutrition to me.
Yeah.
That's not.
Even some of the companies that are geared more towards like the natural and cleaner products, some of their formulations, combinations are interesting. I mean, I found a product here and there that from a company that I've tested and I've looked at, I'm like, oh, this is decent, this is good. But everything else, I mean, do you really need all of that to be taking? Because they're combining herbs and supplements like many companies do. And so I think for someone who's healthy, generally that's okay. But when people have chronic illness, like they have serious illness, doing some of the MLMs and supplementing and doing things on your own, you really are wasting time and money.
Agreed.
And you could have just invested money into seeing a practitioner who knows what they're doing, knows how to use the products, knows which products are clean, are safe, have high bioavailability of the supplements there that are therapeutic. So functional doctors, naturopathic doctors, we're working with companies like Biotics Research, where, like I said, we know the quality's there. We know the efficiency. I know this product will work.
Yeah.
The only time it won't work is when people don't take it.
Right.
Or they decide to change the dosing because maybe they're afraid or they think they have a better idea of how much to take. Now, we do listen to our patients, right? If they're taking X amount of whatever product and then they feel like it's too much, let's take it down. Let's dose it down from there.
Right. You can adjust. Sure.
But if people aren't taking products the way they're supposed to, it's just like a medication, right? It's being prescribed. We prescribe the supplements because they are therapeutic quality.
Yeah.
It's not something over the counter you're getting.
No, I mean, it's a big component of health. Is when I was in the clinical practice days, long time ago, respectfully to the listeners, coming in with their basket full of supplements from self-diagnosis, and I ask, are you getting better? And then I look at some of the products and it's like, well, that's not therapeutic for what we're looking at or what we're working on. And you as a professional, educated doctor, this is your world, this is your wheelhouse. And adjusting things to, again, therapy. Let me give you an example that really gets me, is because I just talked about this last week, was we've been on vitamin D, just to give the listener an idea of, well, I need you on 4,000 IUs a day or 8,000 or 10,000 or, as you said, 20. That doesn't scare me, by the way.
Okay, good.
Not at all. If it's, for you to make that recommendation. But what's going on in your lifestyle that you're burning up the vitamin D that you need more? What's going on in your lifestyle that you're burning through B vitamins that you need more? Let the clinician call the shots here. Trust the clinician who has spent many times at conferences and all over learning more. Yeah. This is an ever-evolving industry with actually really solid science.
Yeah. And, we look forward to going to our conferences.
Yeah.
It's not like, I have to do it.
Oh, I gotta get my hours.
Yeah, we might be getting a little tired, but our naturopathic medical board requires 30 hours. I think they just changed that and lowered it to 20.
Yeah.
But almost all of us exceed that amount by twice as much, if not more.
No, I see all of you at these
things.
things.
Because it's important for us to learn and continue to learn and grow.
Right.
So it's not like we went online and Googled this or went on AI and asked these questions. We know the therapeutic dosing.
You didn't go to Dr. Google.
No, I didn't go to Dr. Google. Yeah, and because Dr. Google still doesn't know. It's AI, all of that. It's looking at the collective information that's on there.
Right.
And it is still very dominant on the conventional medical side. It's not looking at our clinical experience that we see the patterns, we recognize the patterns of what's coming through, what works, what doesn't work. We're realistic, especially with herbal medicine.
Yeah.
That's like a whole different world that as much, as much as we know about it, I mean, I am still learning new herbs. And I wish my patients would know that. And I'm going to say that right now because I learn new herbs every week. Just last week, I was researching things for eczema and psoriasis, and I learned about 10 new herbs that I did not learn in my medical training.
Right.
And so there's so many herbs out there in different parts of the world, and they're accessible to us still.
Yep.
So we can use those, and we can learn what's a good quality to, source from. And I mean, plants are amazing.
Well, they are.
They're amazing. They're created to have intelligence also.
I agree with you. And there's some really great, as you said, herbs, and there's some really great suppliers of that out there. This is a growing industry, so we have to be aware of the supply and the quality of the supply, because how fast are they growing it? What conditions were it grown in? Like I said, we throw our herbs through high-performance liquid chromatography, which is a very technical machine.
Yeah.
There's no quiz on this later, but we look for the active components. But we also look for the excipients. You'd be shocked in what's out there.
Yeah.
But like you were saying earlier about your patients coming in, it's instead of Dr. Google with that one targeted answer, we got to look at the metabolic individuality of the patient.
Absolutely.
The genetic profile even of the patient, which is more of an emergent science than ever. There's so many factors that you are schooled in that social media is not.
It's not. It's an art.
Yes.
All of this is an art. And the artist is going to be unique to the medicine. I mean, in traditional, Native Americans, when they were going to make an herbal tea or something with herbs, they would walk out into their fields in a prayer mode.
Yeah.
And they were looking for the herbs with the person in mind of who was going to use them.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about individual treatment.
And intention.
Yeah. And so they would go and pick each herb. It was like this intuitive approach that they would take. Obviously, we can't do that. We're busy, right? But we have to trust people who are intentionally looking for the quality to create a quality product for us. But that was the way indigenous people used herbs. They would go out and pick them, select them for that person, make them, and then give the medicine. And so as a doctor, as a naturopathic doctor, I don't go out to the field and pick my herbs, but I do look out for companies that are reputable, including herbs, even if they're individual, because what I have learned is that, let's take the example of Bacopa.
Yeah.
I give it out to my patient in the office. Maybe they run out. They go to the grocery store, buy a different, or somewhere else and buy a different, same Bacopa, different company. And they're like, this wasn't the same.
That's a reality.
I almost celebrate that moment because I want them to understand that what I'm carrying here, if I wouldn't take it from me or I wouldn't give it to my child, I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah. No, that's a reality.
It's a reality.
Yeah.
And then even that example of Bacopa, I know how to dose that to different individuals, whether it's a child or an adult. And even the adult dosing, say I give 1 dropper, 2 dropperfuls 3 or 4 times a day, which most people, if they're taking it, they're not taking enough.
Right.
Herbs have to have a 3 to 4 hour, time frame for them to be effective, just like medication. And but some people can't not take a dropperful.
Yeah.
We're talking about maybe that same adult might need 3 drops.
Yeah.
And so that's where we know our patients, their sensitivity, their lifestyle, where they're at. And for sensitive patients, I know less is better.
Less is more.
Less is more.
Yep.
It's potent for them.
Absolutely.
And we can go down a rabbit hole with botanical herbs because there's microdosing of botanical herbs, which you're taking 1 or 2 drops and diluting it in water. And for some people, that form of therapy is more powerful than doing a whole dropper full. So more is not, it's not better.
Right.
So
like
you can really extend that product for a long time. But it's getting to know the person. We know our patients, we know what works for them, and then we look for companies that are reputable like Biotics to ensure that the quality is there because our name is behind that quality.
Yeah.
Our clinics, we don't want to sell cheap products that I was almost going to say a bad word.
Yeah.
Cheap products that, don't get you any results. We want to get you results.
Yeah.
We want to get you results so that you feel better and you go on and live your life.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that because you're a very intentional doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I know that about you. It's not just patient in, patient out. And, your reputation's on the line to get results. My reputation's on the line to get you the results. And I wouldn't be doing this as long as I have if I wasn't aligned with a quality company that I know brought the patient quality results. I love what I do. You love what you do. Mm-hmm. We want to bring the best to your patient population.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you talked about the manufacturing process, testing. Is there anything that you want to share that makes maybe makes Biotics Research a little different than the other companies?
Let me go.
Go for it.
No, yes. I will speak for ourselves, but I also know because of this ISO certification that we have in our laboratory, not every company has that. And
is that a rigorous process to get?
It is a rigorous process. Yeah. But we were a laboratory company from the beginning of time, before we were basically even a supplement company. Long history in that. So we had established the laboratory processes. We've mapped out the entire pretty much botanical catalog that we can look at what I was saying, that active spike or that active component. We can go to our catalog. It's not something we're doing, that's new to us. We can reference herb after herb after herb and go, here's what it should look like. Here's what you're buying. But to give you an example, like curcumin is big in the industry. Okay. In the process of making curcumin from turmeric, in most cases, they're using a class 1 solvent. So talk about solvents and components, not to get technical, but they use a class 1 solvent, which is not a good component. But they have to make sure then that the material is cleaned up without that solvent left. We, as a company, look for that solvent. That's not on the certificate of analysis from the supplier saying, oh, we don't have the solvent in there anymore. We're supposed to trust that process, but we don't. The allowable limit is 5 parts per million of that solvent left. We have found up to 139 parts per million of that solvent. You don't want a class 1 solvent at 139 parts per million in a product like curcumin where you're trying to work with anti-inflammation and things of that nature. Again, material that we do not take.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, just you explaining that, maybe our viewers can just go back and re-listen to that because that's really important there. I know people want to do this on their own and they want to vet things out. And just I didn't even know that about, about what you're explaining, I know there's a difference in quality and how it's processed, but just the actual process that you guys go through is not something that is explained to us all the time. And the reason I say that is because I've had patients who I put them on the protocol, they do the protocol, they're good for 2-3 months.
Yep.
All right, you're doing great. Come back in 2 months to see how you're doing. They don't stay on the same product. They decide to get off and go off on a cheap one.
Right.
Which, you know what, the cost isn't even that much difference. I mean, you're talking about $5-6 that maybe you're saving yourself per bottle of the product.
Yeah, at times, if that.
We're
a very buyer beware, conscious company.
Yeah, I made a lot of comparisons with quality products versus those that are not, and it's not a major difference. Yeah. I mean, there's some that maybe there is a bigger difference, but once again, the therapeutic value is there. And so this individual came back and she's like, I feel terrible and I feel back the same way. I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you taking everything the same? Well, yeah, I'm taking everything. And so she brought her bag of supplements and she starts taking them out. And she starts putting them on the counter. And I'm like, I didn't recommend this. Yeah. I didn't recommend that. Yeah. Yes, maybe it would say zinc, but I didn't recommend that brand. It wasn't that brand. And even I'll say this. Say there was a particular, I don't want to say names, but they say there was a particular brand that I was using for that supplement. That person went and got another one that I think the company's pretty good, but I would never use that particular
Right.
like item, like say it's magnesium. I wouldn't use magnesium from that company.
Sure.
Maybe something else, but not that. And so even that kind of even from a company that's reputable, that individual product did not have the same quality as the other one. And so I think from our side, from the clinical side, like we see what works for people,
Sure
right? We
do.
give them options, but then they go and change it up. And I'm like, well, this is why.
Right.
You're taking all the right vitamins and herbs, but it's not the same company that we started with. That's why you're not seeing you're not seeing the effects of it like you did before. Let's switch it back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you recommend magnesium with a particular carrier that you had a particular application for, and the patient changes it up. And you know, I call it the bang for the buck, for lack of a better term. But like you're talking about, the cost of the product and the quality of the product. You know, so you have vetted, you have a particular program for that patient based on all the layers of the onion of health that you've gone through and their laboratory work, their subjectives and all of that, and chose that particular product for a reason. We learned that there are very direct therapies with certain nutrients and certain carriers and certain combinations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. What are some misconceptions that you have heard either from conventional doctors or just people in general about like the natural medicine, the natural supplements? Like, what are some misconceptions that you have seen?
Expensive urine.
Expensive what?
Urine.
Urine.
Yeah, like
really?
I think that's such a misconception
Wow.
that I hear. Well, you know, like patients come back and say, well, the doctor said don't take that because it's just going through, you're not doing anything, and that's expensive urine. You know, they especially say that about taking B vitamins, which really, that gets me a little bit because I know how depleted we are.
Yeah.
I've seen the studies. There was a wonderful study done years ago just taking B vitamins.
Yeah.
How it reduced the stress and anxiety in the work environment. Because we're going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. We're using up these biochemistry of nutrition here.
Yeah.
Let's go back down to that level. All these processes in your body, your patients may be familiar with adrenal function and adrenal hormones, or neurotransmitters in the brain for to calm you down, or you look at thyroid pathways. These all are dependent pretty much on B vitamins. You know, if you look at the spot between step A and step B is B vitamin dependent. And so when a doctor says, well, that's just taking, B vitamins is just taking an expensive product, and they're not expensive, but taking a product that's just going to go out through your urine. No, it's going out through your urine after it's already done its work.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, well, look you can tell because your urine is yellow. Well, that's the color of riboflavin. Like, that's the stuff that gets me a little bit.
Yeah.
The misinformation.
The misinformation. You said some things there, and I wanted to, because we were talking about the misconceptions and the stress.
Yeah.
So this is how I explain it to patients.
Yeah.
I have to use a lot of analogies, simplify things, because, I can go down all the biochemistry patterns, right, that we have to. But I really want them to walk away understanding why stress. Well, first of all, what is stress?
Yeah.
Stress can be physical stress, a demand on us, not sleeping enough. Obviously, psychological, emotional stress is one. Chemicals create a stressor in the body, and the body's responding to that. Not eating enough is a stress. You don't have the building blocks.
Right.
And that's really what I find. One of the things is people are not eating enough. They're not having breakfast, their lunch. They're not getting enough of the macronutrients in their diet, proteins, fats, the healthy carbs that give us the vitamins. We have to eat a lot of vegetables to get all those vitamins and minerals. And even then, our soil is so depleted that the quality in our food isn't there, right? Like it used to maybe 50 years or 100 years ago. So they're not getting the nutrients in through their diet, and then they're stressing a lot. So I explained to my patient that chronic stress, so that means you're constantly under a lot of stress and not giving the body what it needs. It's like sitting in your car, it's on, the car's in park, it's still burning fuel. Now that's normal function, but go ahead and press on that gas pedal while you're in park and just keep revving the engine for the next hour or so.
That's a good analogy.
And eventually, you sit there long enough, you're going to burn through that fuel. So when you are ready to put your car in reverse to drive, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Fortunately, our body will find a way to still function.
Yep.
That's what amazes me, Daniel. I get people when I get their labs, I am like, wow, this is a construction worker who gets up at 3, 4 in the morning to go work a physical demanding job in this heat. How is he doing it?
Right.
When all hormones are depleted, when all of these things are out of balance, like how is he doing it? And I get it that the mind and the spirit of a person is resilient, but this is what will lead to disease.
Yeah.
It leads to diabetes. It leads to cancer. It leads to autoimmune. It leads to adrenal fatigue. It leads to something much greater. And there are medical conditions that are silent killers. You don't feel it maybe right away, or you push through the fatigue. Because fatigue is like the number one symptom of all illness, isn't it? Fatigue. So we justify fatigue. Well, I work a lot, I didn't sleep last night. The kids kept me up, whatever. We justify it. And then we get to this point where people end up in emergency rooms, and now they have a much bigger, they're tapped out. Now they have a much bigger problem. Many years ago, I was a counselor at a university, and I remember getting a call from a student, the family of the student, because she had passed away.
Wow.
She had crashed out. She crashed. She fell asleep. She didn't even know she had a thyroid issue.
Yeah.
A hypothyroid issue. She was so tired.
Right.
She was driving home late, and she crashed.
Yeah.
So we won't. Sometimes people justify how they feel, but I'm amazed, and we talked about this in my clinic when you were there. How women are liars.
Yes.
Women, you're liars.
Look at the camera.
You're great liars, women. I love you, but you lie to yourself.
Yeah.
That's the danger, is that I ask him, how do you feel? Oh, I'm great. Then I get those panels of testing, the hormones, all of it. And I go over, I'm like, lady, you're running on an empty tank. Literally, all of the sex hormones from pregnenolone and on, they're all low. So it's like, how are you functioning? Once I am being, I'm myself all the time on this podcast, in person with anyone. This is how I am. So I tell them, how are you functioning? You're literally driving on empty. And so once I bring this up, they put their guard down, they put the walls down, and then the real conversation comes through. Well, I guess I'm a little tired.
Right.
Sometimes when I'm driving, I do feel a little sleepy, or I'm at a meeting and I do feel sleepy and tired, and I'm like, a little?
Well, they think this is the norm.
This is
Yeah, because their friends are that way too.
Everyone in America is running like that.
And the body, like you talked about a little bit earlier, the body can adapt miraculously, but only for so long.
Only for so long.
And like you said, then the processes of degradation show up in whatever way of disease processes.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, I have brain fog. Is there something for brain fog? It's like, it's called eating your food.
Right.
But from there, now we have to supplement all these things to get them up. So when we are going back to the car analogy, I got distracted there.
It's okay.
But when we are under chronic stress, what we're burning through are all those vitamins and all those minerals.
That's the reality.
That's what we're burning through, baby.
Yeah.
We're burning through them fast.
We are not burning through a lack of Advil.
No.
You know what I mean? We're if you look at the body, which is a beautiful thing to really look at, and
it is.
For some people that's not exciting, but for us it is.
It is.
You look at the pathways, you look at the biochemistry of it. It is not those deficiencies of a medication. And maybe at times that's needed. I'm not disrespecting that. But let's look at the foundation.
Yeah.
And people are absolutely depleted by foundational components.
Yeah. So you're burning through these minerals because all of the stress is just your body's processing, metabolizing everything faster, and you're not giving it the fuel that it needs. You're not giving it the rest that it needs. And so this is why supplementation
is needed.
Yeah. And it is much more effective to identify, obviously, the areas that people are deficient. Stress management is always a must in my practice.
Yeah.
Everyone. I don't care. Everyone.
Absolutely.
In medical school, I saw that pattern right away, and I thought, if I had a magic wand, I would reduce stress levels of people and help their nervous systems just regulate stress better. Because we need stress. Otherwise, we would just all sit around and do nothing, right? But help people to manage the stress response more balanced.
To me, it's one of the biggest components of health.
Yeah.
You know, when we are, I'll call it wired and fired.
Yeah.
We're not sleeping. We're running on empty. It's caffeine and, you know, whatever. Pain perception goes up. Digestion doesn't work. Libido doesn't work. The list is long.
Yeah.
Blood pressure, you know, all these factors. If we work on managing stress, which is my passion, even in the supplement world, using the right supplements to bring down the what we'll call sympathetic drive, that wired and fired feeling. The body has sympathetic, parasympathetic, and we want to balance them. Things change, and then you can really get to the other layers of the onion of health.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really good there, because we're going to stop right there, because I want to talk about stress.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Because I think that's one of my priorities in my practice, and you just mentioned that. I didn't know that was something that you prioritize.
Huge.
But I think it's really important to discuss stress overall, and then go from there. Maybe there's some key things you want to share.
I think we have
product-wise, yeah.
in the toolbox here.
All right, guys. So you want to make sure you stay tuned for the next part of this interview with Mr. Daniel here from Biotics Research. I hope that you have learned a lot so far. We talked about, the importance of therapeutic quality and therapeutic dosing and many other things in between. But join us in the next episode, where we're gonna continue talking about stress and some other topics on supplements and our supplementation. Thank you for listening to this episode of Physician Heal Thyself. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, be blessed. Thank you for listening to Physician Heal Thyself, the podcast. If you like what you've heard, please like, share, and subscribe. Help this message reach more people who may need to hear it. Leave your comments. I want to know what you think. If you're interested in learning more about Raíces, visit our website at raicesndmedcenter.com. Until next time, be blessed.